All right, now. Oh. All right, I should actually talk during this thing because this is a test basically for me to figure out how this actually works. And because we want to do some more live chat, live things. Since our Three Sides Live episode didn't work out, we want to try to have things be a little, we want to do something with video to make it interesting for us so that when we talk about it again, it's actually something interesting. So, well, let me stand up and get some things here. And I did promise a cat, and I will show. Oh, yes. I will show her again at some point. So, the, let's see. All right, be right back. I will stand here for a second and Genesis. I'm talking at a distance, and where are the items I'm looking for? Yes. So let's show off some of these things. All right. There are two people here now, so I hope I'm not being too boring here. So, hey Alex, how's it going? So there is a voice I read, a name I recognize. So good to see here, or see that you're here. You get to see the first little bonus that I'll pull out here. I don't even probably need to pull it out of the plastic wrap, but here's Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, signed by Tony, Mike, Steve. Would have liked to have gotten Peter to sign this when I saw Peter at a book signing a couple weeks ago now, back in October. But he was not, he was only signing the book, so that's it. So, and then this is actually, again, Trigger the Tail, signed by Mike, Tony, and Steve again. I will have to, if I ever get to meet and have Phil sign anything, this will be one of those items there. So we shall see. So, and if I throw it on stage, it will probably not get thrown back by Peter. He will do his own thing with that. So, and the cat disappeared. I was going to show off the cat again. So there's a third person here now. So we'll just put on Twitter 3 people in the live chat, in the live stream, and it appears to be working. Come check it out. I don't really have much exciting to do with this. I really just wanted to see what was happening. Alex, I think you saw this on Twitter when I posted that last Saturday, a week ago now. We did a great recording with Tom, Stacy, and Simon and myself of Three Sides Live. And literally we were wrapping up the episode and my recorder started blinking at me as if it were not recording anymore after it had been working fine. And it decided to stop working. Here's the little 8-track in question, Tascam, a good thing. A little dusty, but I should be cleaning this off. So that's the thing. Breaking news on the new Genesis release. We know that BBC is coming out next year at some point. I think Nick Davis talked about that in some sort of interview he did, which might have been letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, but not too much. So, but this is good. This is that. So, but talking about the Three Sides Live stuff, the piece after recording it, I was beating myself up about the issue, the tech issue that happened, and Haley's decided to join, and it was a pain. It was horrible. Losing a file, losing an entire podcast. And I maybe it was because I didn't hit stop over the course of 2 hours of chatting, but whatever. So, they said they were going to announce it this week. They said it's funny, but it will be a good time. So there's 3 people. I don't know if I count as one of the 3 people here. So I think that I don't know if Tom was going to be able to log on or whatever. What I need to find out is that if there's a way to do a stream and have somebody else, like if Tom were at his place, could he join by video with this stream if I were to, I don't know, press a button or something like that? This is the technology I want to figure out. The plan at this point is sometime in mid to late December, the 4 of us will get together again, myself, Tom, Stacy, and Simon, and we'll basically do some sort of live stream talking about Three Sides Live, because it'll make it a little bit more interesting for us. We're not just trying to repeat this again. We did re-record. We lost the Peter Gabriel 3 episode. It was literally almost the same thing, except we had actually finished the episode back when Simon was doing things. So, look at this, an Australia listener, Ben DeHoot. And I could be, if I'm mispronouncing that, Ben, my apologies. It looks actually like a Dutch type of name. I do genealogy as a hobby, so I'm curious as to, backgrounds of people and everything. So this is unplanned. This is nothing, super exciting. But Ben, since you just joined, I will show what I showed Alex before. Signed item with Mike and Tony and Steve's name on here for Trick of the Tail. And same thing with Lamb Lies Down. Mike, Tony, and Steve. Getting Steve, it's funny. Steve was selling things through this website. Like having Steve's signature on something almost doesn't feel like a big deal, but it is still, So especially when you're able to get other things. So, and I was really hoping to get Peter to sign off on this when he was in New York back in October. But at least at the event I was at, he was only signing the book that he wrote the foreword for. And the other author wasn't at that book event. I was actually kind of surprised. It was billed that both they would be there. So well done with pronunciation, Dutch pronunciation. So glad that I can get things correct every once in a while. But yeah, what I was saying is that sometime in mid to late December, and we'll schedule it once, we'll let people know, we'll beat the bushes about it, is that the 4 of us will get together and we'll talk about Three Sides Live, and maybe it'll be a little bit more interactive because we'll have this chat going and everything. So it's something that, I guess it was kind of close to the anniversary of Sits of the Best. We were doing, what was it? Today's the 19th. So it was the 12th. We were close to that time. But it's nice to get people together. I mean, as everybody I think knows, everybody knows. The 4 of us are friends, we're friends. Tom and I and Stacy and Simon are all friends. And the podcast was initially an excuse to get together and talk. We were talking about Genesis stuff anyway. Simon said, why don't we just record this and talk about it? Do a podcast. So since we talked about the bonus tracks, the studio tracks on the US version of it, the Abacab and Duke B-sides, we didn't really talk about those because we talked about the B-sides on the Abacab and Duke episodes. So we really just focused on the live stuff on the UK version, figuring that no real need to duplicate kind of the chat of things. And we're lazy. Sometimes we don't want to actually, we don't want to have to listen to more stuff than we have to. That's semi of a joke, but it's also, we try to keep it focused with that. So, but it was fun. And it's nice, like, we really like having guests who haven't been on the show before. Adam Cromwell's been a great guest. David Priest, Anthony Johnson. I'm going to forget people, but Catherine Stratton talking about Mike Rutherford type of stuff. It's all been great, but having Stacy and Simon on, like when Stacy came on for No Jacket Required, she knew the routine, and it was just like falling back into that. And I'll say right now that No Jacket Required episode is one of my favorites that we've done. Like both the recording of it was a lot of fun, and I think that pulling it together was great. And yes, Adam was great. We need to get him back on again for things. So because he's both a friend and somebody who can talk about the music in a way that I think non-musicians can get. He doesn't. Adam doesn't get bogged down in the terminology of stuff. So trying to think of other fun things I might have to show off here. I also, one of the reasons why we've been a little bit, we haven't done an episode in a while was that both Tom and I were moving. We both had I'll speak for myself. I had some personal family stuff I was having to deal with for about the last 3 to 4 months, and that took up a lot of mental energy. And unfortunately, podcasts kind of dropped off the radar screen from the midsummer onwards and everything. So, but we do. I would love to keep a monthly schedule going. One episode a month, I think, is fair. It doesn't overwhelm the listeners. It doesn't overwhelm us. When we were talking about doing Three Sides Live, we were also at the same time talking about doing the A Hackett album. We're debating which to do. We were kind of leaning towards Spectral Mornings, or we were discussing with a possible guest to Watch the Storms, which I kind of like as a newer Hackett album, even though it's 20 years old at the point. Cured would be interesting. Cured would be, I would actually need to listen to that a number of times again, because while I'm familiar with it, I'm not overly familiar with it. It's not one of those Hackett albums that I pull out very much. So Highly Strung is a bit more with that because it has one of my favorite songs, Cell 151, on there. So that's always been, a strong contender for me. But I think we'll probably either do Spectral Mornings or To Watch the Storms is what it'll boil down to. And I kind of hope we do To Watch the Storms just because I think it being new again, being in the 21st century, it's good. And I think it was kind of the template for a lot of the Hackett albums that have followed. So that's what I'm kind of, we will lean towards that and see what goes on. But that's what's happening now. So there's 3 people here. So I know Alex is here, Ben is here. I don't know if the very first person who posted, if they just kind of joined because it was a stream or what's going on. As a Hackett aside, there's a fantastic new John Edgington interview in YouTube land in which he talks about the Hackett aspect of the Genesis. Oh, yes. I did see that. I know there's been a lot of back and forth about that. I'll be curious to listen to what he has to say about it, because I've heard from a number of different parties about how things went down with that. And it wasn't, it's funny what gets, there's conspiracies like, oh, the band doesn't want to talk about Steve's stuff. It's like, they don't really have a say in the edit of process that. Ben, if there's any nuggets that you want to share in the chat that are curious, again, I'll have to listen to that, watch that interview at some point, or the commentary that he puts out about that. So it is what it is. I know that there was something that I think John or somebody on his team might have said that like Mike Rutherford didn't want something there. So, hello, Timothy from Atlanta. So if you're a Genesis fan and, this is, we do a podcast about the band Genesis and all the solo careers. So, Tom was pretty good with putting the podcast audio up on YouTube for a while, but we weren't getting much hits from it. So we kind of stopped doing that. So the task of editing, there was always being a compromise no matter what you did. Yeah, that's the nature of these documentaries, is that you can't have everything. I mean, should Hackett's solo career have been mentioned? Yes, it should have been. at least, even if it was just a minute long aside of, oh, he's had a good solo career and GTR and other stuff. But there's, with things of timing, there's always, issues with that. Actually, let me pull out, and every time I get up, I have to make the cat move because this cat loves being on my lap. There she is again. So, Haley, go sit there. Let me get, let's see, where is, oh, here's the Genesis thing I'm looking for. So this, and we do that so nothing drops. Haley, you're going to have to move. This is the box for the 76 to 82 remixes from 2006 or 7, whenever this came out, and it's the Japanese Obi strip one. So this, and I think, did I get one of these? Oh, it's funny. I thought I had one of the. Oh, you know what? No, I think it's not the Japanese version. I think I had Mike and Tony sign off on the Invisible Touch when I had that. So this is just a cool little thing. Again, if you like these Japanese issues here, it's a fun thing. I've been lucky enough that, with some of the connections that I've had, I got this for free. So it was, didn't even have to pay for it. So, and I'm always kind of hesitant to talk about stuff like that because it's like, I don't want to sound like, look at me, I got something for free. But it does save my wallet a bit when stuff like that happens. So, but it's very cool. I think that, if you can get stuff like this, whether you have the expendable income or, the time to do things, that's fine. Which Genesis one is Haley's favorite? I would have to say All on a Mouse's Night. All on a Mouse's Night. I'm reversing my joke, so it's not a good joke anymore. Wind and Wuthering because of All on a Mouse's Night. Anything cat related, she'll be fine with. So, but what was the most interesting was that anything did cut, which it was all Genesis come out, but the BBC person at the time rejected this and required talking heads. Yeah. There's also little support or knowledge from BBC management about the pre-Collins years. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. BBC was kind of the master of that documentary. They wanted something with Genesis, but also the great mass of people out there, when they think of Genesis, think of the latter Philly years, and that's not for good or ill. That's just the nature of things. So, but it's like, that's kind of what it is. So I'm managing cats here. I'm also watching my mom's cat here. And Haley is not thrilled about the presence of another cat sometimes. So, but yeah, I think that the documentary was like, I think watching what I was hoping for, I don't know if any of you got the Blu-ray or if it was a DVD of the documentary, the sum of the parts. There was, there were bonus things on there, but it was just the individual interviews. I was like, and now that he's put it up on YouTube, I think it's great that those entire uncut interviews are available now, because especially, things in the cut where, when Steve talks about leaving the band and, oh, how dare you do a solo album and stuff like that, they kind of do a cut over to Phil, Mike, and Tony where they look very stoic and not interested. But when you actually see the conversation, the unedited conversation, it's a lot less awkward looking, at least to my eyes. And so that's kind of where things are at. So this is good. So Adam, hello, Adam. I think I'm trying to, say hello. This is very much a, test chat of live streaming, seeing how it works. It might be, actually I'll have to figure out if I can record these somehow too. Because the whole point of something like this, not that I would do it with this one, but if we can record this and then, basically put the audio up as a podcast. This was, I was texting with Tom before about just making sure I had the password for our YouTube channel here, because he tended to do more stuff with it. And I was like, let me just jump on and see if I can make a live stream work. And it was there. So yes, Jess, if we can get 5, well, we have 5 people on here now. So And I wish there was a way. Is there a way I can actually see the names of people who are on here? I can put users in timeout. I guess if somebody starts swearing up a storm, we can do that. So, but I hope I don't have to put anybody in a timeout here. That seems very overly parental. So, while we're here testing this out, let me know, like, we actually, a number of, we haven't done one since the summer, I think, of a, of a tweet along to an album where we did with some of the Genesis ones during the pandemic. I know we did it with No Jacket Required, was probably the last one, which might have been it was last summer when we did it. And so that's something that, if people would enjoy doing more of those tweet alongs, maybe if we do something here on YouTube with that could be another kind of listening thing. I wonder if that would mess up any copyright stuff, if we would get flagged with playing music or something. So the Dr. Wugan says hello. So Alex says hard weed, but I'm not quite sure why. You do Who Last Longest with Who Done It on repeat. That will separate the men from the boys, as the saying goes. That's that could be a fun thing. I like Who Done It, but listening to it repeatedly can drive any person insane, or listening to any song repeatedly like that. For those of you back in the college days, I don't know if any of you have heard of the band called The Shags. The Shags did a very strange album where this was a couple teen girls, sisters who couldn't really play their instruments. And in college, one of my college roommates and I did, on Halloween itself, we listened to the song It's Halloween, which is about 2 minutes long, 100 times in a row. And you think like, oh, this will be funny. And by about 20 or 30, you're like, oh, this is not fun. And it becomes a bit mind-numbing after a while. So, and yes, at least Dr. Wudon knows the Shags. So, but do you think Genesis were trying to make something intentionally bad, or just got it a bit wrong? I think that I think Who Done It was just a bit of fun more than anything else, a bunch of weirdness and everything, and was just having a laugh. And it was Amit Etrigan at Atlantic who said it has to be on the album. So. Mother on Synchronicity, which is another track I've always enjoyed. Again, enjoy is maybe in quotes, but I've always liked that track. So, but, and my opinion about the whole thing that I think we went into the podcast about is that, we're just 4 or 5 people, or 3 or 2, just talking about the music. Our opinions are not any more right or wrong than anybody else's. We never wanted to sell ourselves as authorities on Genesis. We're Genesis nerds. We know a lot of stuff, but it's not like that doesn't mean we're right about what's good and what's bad. That's what everybody determines that on their own. So, and it should be that way. You should kind of, figure out music for yourself. So I'm going to retweet that I'm doing this little live thing just to kind of, see if we can beat the bushes and get anybody else here. It's good to see that I'm not the only person hanging around on a Saturday evening. So do this, let's say, still live on YouTube. Come on by. I'm blathering and talking to people in chat. Yes, Adam. Actually, I think Adam, I was just talking with Alex about this probably before you joined. We are in discussions. Probably after we do 3 Sides Live in December with the video thing. Probably in January, or the next recording we will do will be a Hackett album. Most likely either Spectral Mornings or To Watch the Storms. I am leaning towards To Watch the Storms because I kind of want to do something a little bit more new, even though it's 20 years old at this point. That counts as new in Genesis land as far as I'm concerned. And so that's, what I would like to see going on. So, but if we talk about Spectral Mornings, that'd be a great one to talk about also. So, there's certainly nothing wrong with talking about, an older album, and Spectral will be a great one to talk about. Voyage, we've done Voyage, and have we done any other Hackett ones? I think that's it, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong. We also have talked about doing Geese and the Ghost with Ant Phillips. We do actually want to do Acting Very Strange at some point, Mike Rutherford's solo album. We'd probably get Catherine Stratton on there again because she's such a Mike Rutherford fan. But yeah, so that's just, we have plans, and Tom and I kind of coordinate things, and we try to get good guests for stuff. There's things that we've been trying to do with, some more guests. We should have done more interviews during not that we're necessarily out of the pandemic yet, but we should have done more interviews while people were kind of locked at home and had time on their hands to do more things. So Genesis were very diverse in their output with it. Yeah, and I think we talked about that on the podcast a bit more, where it's like, Genesis, even at their quote-unquote poppiest, was still putting out albums that had 8 or 9 minute long songs on it. So Domino and Tonight, and Tonight was edited for a single. So, anybody here follow Shamantai or other providers a fine fraud-oriented YouTube poop? I have not. So I actually don't do YouTube that much, which is I think Tom doesn't much either, which is I think one of the reasons why, unfortunately, we might have let this YouTube channel kind of linger and not do much recently. So, I think that the key would be to try to do a little bit more, later on. And if we can start doing these live streams a bit more, that's could be another avenue for stuff. So if anybody here has done, like Alex, I know you do podcasting and things like that. I don't know if you've done YouTube streaming before, but if there is any way to edit or to record this, which I'm sure there is, and I just haven't figure this out. Picture-in-picture cast last show all controls. What does that do? Oh, that gives me that's a reverse thing. I don't know what's happening there. Weird. People don't listen very often to a work. They pick songs out. Oh, you're talking about, I see Wugon is talking about things with, how people listen to music, which is interesting, like, because that's something Tom and I have talked about, like, how often do people actually sit and listen to an album? I still try to do it every once in a while, but I know a lot of people don't, or it's just, you don't have time. People still think I'm weird that I own CDs. Let's angle that a little bit more. And it actually shows off the Genesis boxes up there. So maybe that's appropriate at this point. So this is, I moved to this apartment just on October 8th, actually, of this year. And so this is the little office in the apartment. They call it was officially a bedroom, but it's too small for that. So, but it's perfect for an office. And so this is kind of the office where I do the work from home. I have my CDs here, which I've all put on the computer, so I actually don't even have to pull out the CDs very often, which I'm sure most of us, either probably have things online or, have burned your own thing. I have a hard drive with about a terabyte of music on it, 800 and some gigs, I think, so a lot of Genesis bootlegs, which a friend of mine from England collects, and then he just gave me all of his stuff, because as much as I enjoy bootlegs, I'm really not into the process of collecting them. So, all right, got to go sleep. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Peter Pardo. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know that there are people who record their live streams. I wonder if there's a paid version of this that allows for that. We do not have a paid version of this. So, Alex, have a good night. enjoy. We're up to 9 or 10 people, so that's for a test. This is pretty good. So on a Saturday evening, I don't know if anything is going on. I got a new iPhone 14, so let me just actually send. I do have to text somebody, so let me just do this real quick. Hope work wasn't too crazy for you. And we'll do that. Yes, this is, you're watching me text now. This is very exciting. So let me see what the comments here. Andrew Henderson. Hello, Andrew. Yes, CDs are cool. So much more economical than vinyl. I don't own a vinyl player. The vinyl that I have, I either had from eons ago or I've been gifted it. And so I don't, Tom has recently gotten into doing some more, buying vinyl himself. He got a turntable, and he's been going to what do you call it? A lot of yard sales and flea markets and picking up stuff for $1 or $2. So that's always a good time. So streaming computer with software such as OBS, Zoom, or StreamYard. Yeah, I think I've heard some of those. StreamYard is one of those ones that I know there are ways to record streams, and I'll just have to kind of do a bit of research before we get together in December to do a three sides live chat on video here again. So because we want to do something for live people, obviously, but we also want to be able to put it up on the podcast channel, because that's where we get, the majority of our listeners, are through the podcast. And we get, these numbers are not secret. We get about 2,000 to 3,000 people per podcast, which is nice. When we started this, I figured if we got 20, I'd be happy. So, 20 people who weren't friends, and so, it's been nice to kind of see things kind of develop. So, Mr. I'm going to call you CRN because it's a lot of words there. So thank you for that. I just got a text back, so I do have to look at that at some point. But yeah, I actually weeded out a bunch of CDs before moving. So, this was just kind of, I used to have 3 CD boxes, 3 CD bookcases. Now I have 2. And it's sad to get rid of things, but part of it is like, there are certain things that I'm like, I am never going to pull this CD out and listen to it. And I have the music on my computer, so it's fine. Although I know that is an ethical thing that I've had discussions about. Like, people have said, like, if you get rid of your computer, if you get rid of the CD, should you get rid of the files also, because you're not really owning things. So let's try to put it on. All right. Sorry, it was rough. All right. Sorry for the quietness. I just had to, I do have to kind of chat with people. So I had to chat with the girlfriend. So just make sure that her day at work was fine. So, but yes, Adam, I'll never quite understand the new vinyl craze either. The last vinyl I bought, there's a band called Echolin, which is a American progressive rock band, and they're great. And I actually know a couple of the guys. They're really good people and everything. And I think I bought both of their last vinyl albums more as a support for their musical endeavors, while also getting the CD so I can actually listen to the music. So that's kind of where used to be a Lamb on vinyl in a shop the other day and was very tempted. Still thinking about it now. You can always go back unless you were traveling somewhere. So, but go back and check it out. If it wasn't super expensive, it's probably not worth much, but it's fine. Doing a test live stream on YouTube for the podcast. So yes, you have 1,700 CDs. I probably had that many at some point, but I've been weeding things out. So it's trying to kind of be a bit more economical in what having, and also moving apartments in October. I weeded out a lot of books, weeded out a lot of CDs, DVDs, and stuff like that. So not too many Blu-rays. If I have something on Blu-ray nowadays, I'm really keeping that and everything. So I think, but whatever makes you happy. If you really like vinyl and you want to collect vinyl, more power to you. It's like there's a silly phrase out there that I'm not going to yuck your yum about it, and so it's a good time. So, all right, people, I think I'm going to wrap this up. This has been a nice chat. I've been happy to see that this works, and we might start doing more of these type of things, but probably more scheduled things. Like whenever we talk about Three Sides Live, we'll beat the bushes about that at least a week or two ahead of time and try to do it at a time that will be open for people and everything. So anyway, this is Mike. I should have introduced myself anyway. I might have at the start of things. So this is Mike from Tabletop Genesis. I'm usually the guy who talks first. That was actually funny. There was at one point, I'll tell you, here's a little podcast secret or podcast production thing. At the start of things, I was very much like, I think that I wanted a different person to start the podcast each time, because I didn't want there to be one person looked at as a host. And I think it was Simon at about episode, in the single digits still, where he just said, he's like, just call yourself the host and you could introduce everything, because I was always bugging them to try to have somebody else start the podcast and nobody wanted to. So, that's that stuff. So Ben, good to see you all. I'm going to say Ben, there's 4 people in here right now. Ben, Adam, Andrew, and CRN Kaminsky. Overall, it's a podcast. It's a name there. It's been nice chatting with you all. I'm glad you kind of jumped on here on a Saturday evening. It's good to kind of, blather on about music for a while. So, yes, live long and prosper. I am a nerd also. So, talk to you all later. Have fun. Bye-bye. Peace and love. Glad you like the podcast. We like it too. We just need to do more of them now. All right. Bye-bye, everyone. End.